Hey, it's Daryl. Team Common is currently working on our transition to a weekly show. We'll be back this summer with new episodes. In the meantime, here's one from our archives.
WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Caitlin Harrop, in for Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Common. Hey, everyone. You may recognize my name from our Friday credits. I'm a producer for The Common, but today I'm filling in for Daryl, and I get to do it with WBUR senior health reporter Priyanka Dayal McCluskey. Priyanka, how's it going?
It's going well. Good to be with you.
Yeah, glad to have you. You're here today, Priyanka, because you have a story about some Boston area programs. They're working to combat an epidemic that's impacting our community, the state, the nation. It's not the epidemic you might think, although you do cover a lot of COVID stories. But
True.
We're actually talking about something different, about loneliness, right?
Yes.
Social isolation. And that came out of a report from the U.S. Surgeon General. It came out in the spring. It's an advisory, and it sounds the alarm about what he called the devastating impact of the epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the United States. Priyanka, that sounds pretty heavy. So tell me, why should we be concerned about loneliness? How bad is this issue?
Well, of course, it feels bad to be lonely, but there's also really profound consequences for physical and mental health. So the Surgeon General's report shows that there's higher risk of things like heart disease, stroke, dementia, depression, anxiety. So these really serious conditions that are tied to being lonely and isolated.
And I read through this report. I actually saw something about smoking and how this relates to perhaps a number of cigarettes consumed by people a day, kind of a comparison there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a little alarming, but it says that the impact of lacking social connection, it's similar to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day in terms of your risk of premature death.
Wow. And do we know how many people are impacted by this? I know it's self-reported, but how many people are saying they're lonely in the country?
Yeah, so it's a really pervasive issue. According to the Surgeon General's report, about half of American adults have reported feeling loneliness.
Wow.
And there's also surveys that show that people have fewer close friends now. I talked to Daniel Cox at the American Enterprise Institute, and he's done some research on this.
Basically, any kind of question you can ask about friendship, how often you spend time with your friends, how many you have, do you have a particular type of friend? We've seen a contraction in all these different categories, all kind of pointing in the same direction, that our social networks seem to be shrinking.
Do we know what's behind that?
There's a lot of different issues at play here, but according to Cox, people aren't spending as much time in kind of groups that they used to. And then the Surgeon General's report talks about social media and technology. And so there's a lot of different things going on where people just seem to be talking to each other less.
Kind of closer together and further apart at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know anything about who is most at risk for experiencing loneliness? Are there groups or demographics?
Yeah, certainly there's some groups are at higher risk, and that includes people who are in poor physical or mental health, people with disabilities, single parents, younger people, older people. So there's a lot of different groups that are more likely to feel lonely.
Okay.
Or to experience isolation.
Sounds like it covers a lot of the population.
Yes.
Well, like I said, you've been looking into some groups that are working to provide support for folks experiencing loneliness here in the Boston area. Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, so I found out about this program called the Friendship Project, and it's run by an organization called Advocates, which is a human services agency in Massachusetts. And this group, they are recruiting volunteers to be friends with their clients. And they serve mostly people with disabilities and mental health conditions. And so they're recruiting volunteers from the community to just hang out with some of their clients and just do what friends do. So just go over to their house for a chat, go out for coffee, go for a walk. People have different routines that they've gotten into. And the idea is just to help build social connection.
Have you had the chance to speak to anyone who's involved in the Friendship Project?
Yeah, I was fortunate to spend time with a couple of friends who met through this project, and their routine is going to the gym. They both belong to the same gym, and they like to go together. And they typically spend a few hours there together every month. They'll go to the treadmill, the bike, the pool. They'll take a lunch break. And I talked to Melissa Mills, and she's a volunteer from the community. And she's now friends with Jason Silverman, who is a client at Advocates. And this is what Melissa told me about their relationship.
And we laugh and don't worry about anything when we're together. There's no stress, there's no pressure. We're just here to hang out and, and participate in a healthy lifestyle together. So
you can hear the gym music playing in the background.
So Jason and Melissa will spend a day together. How's that been like for each of them?
Well, Melissa said that it's really been fun and also motivating for her because, it's fun when you have a friend who can motivate you to do a couple extra minutes on the treadmill, right? And then Jason, he has Down syndrome. He doesn't speak a lot. He does have his ways of communicating with Melissa, but I talked to Jason's mother, who's also his, primary caregiver, and she said that he definitely seems happier and more self-confident, really looks forward to these outings.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Did you kill Marlene Johnson?
I think you're one of the first people to have actually asked.
From WBUR and ZSP Media, this is Beyond All Repair, a new podcast about an unsolved murder that will leave you questioning everything.
Somebody should be in jail for murdering my sister.
A woman who's never been believed.
As long as they think I have done this, then they're not looking for who actually did this.
And that's what makes it a cold case.
No, it's a botched case.
And a search for the truth, once and for all.
Wow, it just gets more interesting.
Beyond All Repair. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Be careful. You're digging in a place that's been very peaceful for a while.
Do it anyway. Dig.
Okay, we're back with Priyanka. So it sounds like this has been a good option for Jason. He gets out to the gym, spends a little time with a friend. And I know he's a little bit on the younger side. He's in his 30s. But we know that older folks are also at risk for experiencing social isolation. You mentioned that earlier. Are there any programs specifically targeted towards the state's aging population?
Yeah, there are efforts underway to help older people develop more connections and build friendships. One of those programs is called Phone Buddies. It's at a health insurer called Commonwealth Care Alliance, and they serve a lot of older people with significant medical needs. And the idea behind this program is that even talking on the phone is helpful. You don't need to meet in person to get the benefits of a friendship. I was able to listen in to a couple of friends on their weekly call and could hear that they've just developed a closeness and a fondness for each other, even though they've never met in person. And it just seems to just bring a little bit of cheer to both of their days.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This issue is significant and national. A lot of people are dealing with this. Is there any sort of plan to address loneliness on a broader scale, either at the state level or at the national level?
Well, the Surgeon General's report definitely calls for more action on this, and it seems like there is more attention being paid now to these issues of loneliness and social isolation. And the pandemic played a role there too, because the early days when there were shutdowns and, safety measures that were being taken, a lot of people were cut off from their normal social networks. And so that also drew attention to the issue. So Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, he says that people can do things just at the individual level, like call a friend or just go spend time with people instead of, spending all your time on social media or in front of screens. And then he's also calling for, institutions to step up, whether it's community groups, workplaces, schools. He says they can all play a role in fostering more connection.
Social connection can be a source of healing for society. Like if I told you that there was a medicine that we could take that was freely available that could improve our mental and physical health and improve how we performed at school and in the workplace and how we came together as a society during difficult times, you would say, gosh, well, why don't we all take it?
It sounds like the remedy is really just kind of looking out for each other a little bit.
Yeah, just talking to people.
All right. Well, Priyanka, thank you so much for doing this reporting and sitting down with us on The Common. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's WBUR senior health reporter Priyanka Dayal McCluskey. And that's it for the show today. Thank you so much for listening to The Common. Are you liking the show? Are we part of your routine? If so, please leave us a rating and review, especially on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It would really help us out. And if you want to get in touch with us, let us know how we're doing, you can slide into our DMs on Instagram at WBUR The Common or shoot us an email at thecommon@wbur.org. For now, I'm Caitlin Harrop in for Daryl C. Murphy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.